Oh, sorry guys, I'm just on my phone texting producer Seb to see if I can have the day off work, a la Josh Sargent. I think we'll come on to that story later. Welcome back to the Sportsman Untitled, brought to you by Betfred. My guests for today, of course, Benjamin Bloom, and making his debut on the show, Callum Alston, host of the Valley Floyd podcast. And we'll get on to Charlton deep dive later on in the show as well. We're going to review the FA Cup action, some big results and some bad results from Championship teams this season. But there's been a couple of managerial changes in the Championship. Ben, we must start. Since the last time we were on, West Brom have sacked Ryan Mason, and now they've got in Eric Ramsay from Minnesota. Thoughts on that?
Well, I won't profess to know a great deal about MLS. I know Minnesota is very cold. I know that it had to end for Ryan Mason. It just looked like a team out of a textbook, that were doing the right things, but an inexperienced manager not able to just turn it into winning football. And Simon, you cannot lose 10 consecutive away games in any league, especially when you've been West Brom, who Corberon would have in the playoffs, wouldn't he? And I don't think that squad's bad. I don't think the first 11 is bad. I think some attacking players are a little bit underutilised, but I feel really badly for Ryan Mason because obviously doing this gig, we watched a lot of post-match interviews and it just smacked of a guy of, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I'm setting this up and the underlying numbers are good and it's just not working and we're just not winning games.
That was encapsulated, wasn't it, by that last-minute defeat at Leicester?
Well, exactly.
They played very well the whole second half and then Fatu goes and scores the winner, Callum. It's just like 10 away defeats in a row. You can't survive that, can you?
No. As Ben was saying, he was a manager that very much sounded as if he was lost. Mm-hmm. Not quite maybe saying that he wanted the sack, but definitely somebody that was kind of putting the flag up and saying, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I sort of use a really good example of in the summer they signed Illing Jr. on loan from Aston Villa, and I thought that's a good signing, that. And he's been okay. But especially the game when we played them, some of the attacking players just didn't seem to know where to be. They were making the wrong decisions, and the confidence just seemed to be lacking, which sort of allowed us to go down and score, obviously, that last-minute winner.
Mm. And Eric Ramsay's the man who's come in, and we don't know a lot about him, Ben, do we? 34 years old is what got down, ex-Man United coach, done reasonably well at Minnesota. I think highest ever finish was 4th. It's a risk, though, isn't it, for a West Brom team? They're not in danger of relegation, are they? We can say that.
It would
go badly wrong.
It'd take a big collapse to get relegated, wouldn't it? But you tell me. I mean, in some ways, excuse me, I kind of admire the ownership for doubling down and going for a young manager again because, we're going to go on to talk about Oxford. If there's Gary Rowett's about the place and you can just bring someone in who's managed hundreds of games in the Championship and just knows what they're doing. So I admire that. He's you couldn't be less experienced than Ryan Mason because he'd never done a full-time managerial job being the big guy in the hot seat. But it's only MLS. Apparently their set play numbers were to die for, Minnesota, so that could be fun or not with my latest bugbear about your right back holding onto the ball for 9 minutes of every game. I think we need something done about ball in play time with set plays. But I don't know. Do you buy the argument that it might have been smart to bring in a more experienced, quote, safe pair of hands, or is that a bit reductive now?
I don't think there's any point in that for West Brom. I don't think they're getting relegated. They've got too much about them. There's a lot worse teams in the league. We'll come on to Charlton shortly.
Which then, Simon, quickly, which then means you've got 5 months prep at next season, essentially, haven't you?
If you're right about
that, yeah.
You might, okay. And also, there's this transfer window which we've just entered. If he needs to bring a few players in this window, he might be given the chance to.
Yeah, fair enough.
They need to get the style of play sorted. They're not going to go up or down this season. I'd be very surprised if West Brom do anything at either end of the table. But they've now got a few months time to get to know him, and then a summer to go at it, and we'll see where they are next season. This isn't a West Brom side with parachute payments.
That's the best case scenario you've just laid out, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, what's the worst case scenario? They finished 20th?
Well, the worst case scenario is they tank and you're bringing in a firefighter, Leeds were doing in the Premier League, bringing in Big Sam with 3 games to go saying, here's a big pot of money, save us.
Yeah, absolutely. We should also talk about. Before I do want to get a Cov reference in. Of course I do. Dennis Lawrence.
I already got one. Did you see?
Yeah, nice. Dennis Lawrence is back as his assistant manager. Worked under Mark Robbins. Good to have him back in the Championship. Very, very good coach. I think he'll do well there, and he's got plenty of experience. On the other hand, Matt Bloomfield also back in the division. Callum, almost a year to the day since he joined Luton Town. He's been chosen at Oxford United to replace Gary Rowett. What are your thoughts on Bloomfield getting this gig?
I think it depends how you sort of look at Bloomfield's time at Luton. So obviously had them trending upwards in the form chart. I think by the end of the season they were actually in the top 5 in terms of form. However, when push came to shove, they absolutely had a horror show away at West Brom. And I think that when they went down to League One, they also struggled. So I think it depends how you look at it. I don't think as someone a fan of a team sort of around them that there's a massively worrying appointment, mainly because I think that the Oxford squad isn't quite at the level. I'm not saying that ours is. So I think they're still going to struggle. But what I think he does bring is decent man management skills, and I think they will have some sort of upturn. It's just a question of whether that upturn's going to be enough at the end of the day to make up for the divisions he's in that Oxford squad, especially with their lack of budget. Yeah,
you're absolutely bang on to mention the improvement in form at the end of the season at Luton, because they were trending, as you say, like top 4 Championship team at the end of the season, but it wasn't enough. The damage had already been done, and then there was that struggle in League One a bit as well. So where do we rank Bloomfield? And he seems to have done well to get another Championship job, in my opinion.
I think you've nailed it, because we almost need to judge him on then League One, because Luton, you can give him somewhat of a pass to say they were cascading through and Hanson Robb had lost his smile and it was just trending horribly badly, but it was still a completely hapless relegation. I dare say the managers of your two teams fit into this bracket. Sometimes you can just jump too early. Nathan Jones did to go to Stoke and Southampton, really, didn't he? Didn't learn his lesson. Frank did Derby to Chelsea, had to take the job, obviously. And I wonder whether Matt Bloomfield now, I think he's 3 years in. And I remember sitting on this very show with you, Simon, and we're like, would he jump from Wycombe at the top of... well, your lot would have been in that league. Would he jump from Wycombe at the top of League One and move? And he did, and he probably... 2020 hindsight, probably badly regrets it. It's a tough gig though, and the elephant in the room is Norwich, because they appear to be trending out. We know there's only 2 relegation places to play for here. I'm sure we'll come to, you talk about Charlton and the kind of bottom 6 picture where they are later on, but it's a tough gig, and I'm sure down in the comments beneath this video someone will say, and I can't disagree with them, well, he'll be a good manager in League One if they do go down, which I hate, but it's true.
Because look at Luton.
But then look at Wycombe. So we've got
one or the other, haven't we? But Luton Luton had the best squad in the league, the most money on paper ahead of the season.
But you've spoken about it before, Simon, about turning around the tanker sometimes when a team has been losing for
But they weren't
2
losing
years.
at the end of the Championship season. They were winning an awful lot of games.
Fair, we'll find out, won't we? You make a good argument.
I'm not anti Matt Bloomfield.
Sound like you are.
I think he's clearly a popular manager and a good manager, and has got a decent.
And did well at Colchester as well.
Yeah, at Colchester, at Wycombe. So this is a big test for him. Be good to see him back in the Championship. Can he save Oxford? It's a big task, isn't it? Can they finish above Charlton?
Can I throw into Callum? Would Gary Rowett get more points than what you're about to say?
Oh.
It's tricky. I think that you can. Do I think it's likely? No, mainly because I don't think that squad is necessarily got what some of the teams above them do. I think maybe the squad that I probably look at probably similarly is probably Portsmouth with their injuries. You look at Blackburn with their injuries. We have our injuries as well. But I just don't look at that Oxford squad as teams sort of get players back and go, that's a team that should be staying
I would
up.
also say about Pompey and Blackburn, there's kind of a feeling that there's already managers in there that are kind of doing good jobs, or in Big Val's case, a all right job under pretty testing circumstances. So he's almost got to go in and be performing quite well straight away to compete with those guys, with fewer points as a starting point and less budget, as you said.
Exactly that. Do I think Rowett would get more points? I mean, Rowett very much when Oxford were at the Valley a couple of weeks ago, he looked like a manager that was that was on his last legs. The fans were pretty toxic about it.
I was surprised at the reaction Oxford fans gave. I was like, oh, that caught me out there. And then you read the comments and what they've been saying, and they were delighted.
Are we not in this classic that we've had at so many clubs? We've had it at my club where you have a pragmatic manager and they do all right, and all of a sudden we want more attractive football, and it's a tale as old as time, and it's a hard thing to jump from one to the other, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think in that game, the one thing that I noticed was they had absolutely nothing in terms of attacking intent. They came down, I think, really to try and get a point,
throw-ins,
try and grab something, and there just really wasn't anything there. And that, I think, was a big worry. Can you coach a better attacking intent? I think sometimes, as you're saying, Ben, when you make a transition from a pragmatic manager, they have certain players they like. New guy comes in and goes, well, I don't have the players to do that.
Lancashire, so they have bought somebody in the 10, haven't they?
They have done. I like Donnelly. I think he's a good player. We just don't know if he's going to make that step up or not. I think it's very interesting. Spurs gave them a buy option as well.
Did they?
Yeah, there's a buy option in that loan. Will Oxford trigger it at the amount? Probably not, but it's probably Spurs signalling to everybody else. This is what we value him at next summer.
Yeah, and the state of play, by the way, for Oxford, they're currently on 25 games played, 22 points. That's 3 points behind Portsmouth and 6 behind Blackburn. If we're
might need another 25 points, Simon.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that change in style, as you say, from Rowett to Bloomfield might not be the easiest for the players to deal with. They might see better football and score more goals, but they might concede a lot.
They might love it.
Going the other way. And that's the beauty of this show. We get to wait and see.
Yeah,
we'll wait and see at the end of the season. Did also want to talk about two former Championship managers now in the heady heights of the Premier League, one of which you saw up close and personal in Liam Rosenior this weekend, and the other looks to be Michael Carrick going in at Manchester United. Start with Liam Rosenior. What do you make of him on the weekend? Obviously a big win for Chelsea, and how do you think he'll get on?
I think it's interesting. He never should have been sacked from Hull in the first place. I think that's pretty obvious. He was dealt a pretty harsh hand there. I think that it's difficult to judge on Saturday. Pedro Neto came on in the second half. But they paid 50 million for him. That's double our squad value. So it's difficult for me to sit there and say that it was a tactical masterclass or anything. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, if I had a squad worth that much, I mean, Esteval's coming out 3-1. They brought in a player worth 108 million. At the end of the game, it's like,
but what's Matty Godden worth? That's the real question, isn't it?
Well, we signed him for nothing, so that's what the market says. Not very much. But look, it is an interesting thing of sort of. I think it's harsh with Rosenior to say it's failing upwards, because I don't think it is. I think he got sacked quite unfairly. He's doing a good job at Strasbourg. He was very much seen, I think, by Chelsea as going to be the future Chelsea manager, following that sort of blue coat model. I think the football that he plays is pretty attractive. So I think that sort of suits some of the players that he has. It's just a question of when you kind of get into the later stage of the Champions League. If I'm PSG and I've got Luis Enrique in the dugout, I'd be pretty confident tactically I'm going to get that done against Rosenior.
It's just very interesting, isn't it, that as we see with a lot of players that play in the Championship, it's almost like Premier League clubs are now not directly maybe appointing Championship managers, but a couple of years down the line we're seeing it. Michael Carrick at Manchester United, I mean, he's a manager that Middlesbrough let go because he couldn't get them over the line into the Premier League. He had a couple of very good seasons, ended on a little bit of a downturn, and now he's going in at Manchester United towards the end of the season. Ben, you're shaking your head at me.
What a time to be alive. Let's be quite frank about this, though. It's like Lampard and the Chelsea job. Carrick was a great player for Man United, and that's probably half the gig.
They've got enough of them, the managers, though, that they could go back in for, haven't they? Ollie?
Everyone wants to manage Man United, don't they? I mean, for goodness sakes. But yeah, it'll be fascinating to see how they've landed, and the fact that, I mean, it's an interesting debate about Rosenior. I do think he probably was harshly sacked, but I just brought a game up there. He had Liam Delap, he had Jadon Philogene, he had Fabio Carvalho, Tyler Morton, Jacob Greaves, half the Ipswich team now.
They went big in January, didn't they? That January on loans as well.
I do accept Mr. Illichali's position that he'd backed him and they didn't make the playoffs, but yeah. It was Tim Volter for a cup of tea, wasn't it? But look, great that English managers are getting big jobs, because we're always worried about that. But did we have that on our bingo card at the point when Carrick and Rosenior was sacked? No, absolutely not.
I'm just trying to look down the Championship table now and decide which of these managers is going to be in charge of Man City in a couple of years. Trying to look at Chris Davis or Tonderecker. Let's see what happens in that one. We should talk about some of the FA Cup action as well. A couple of big results in the Championship. Let's start with Wrexham. They were Friday night, 3-3 against Forest, did superbly well. And by the way, fair play to Gab Sutton. He's predicted Wembley for Wrexham in an FA Cup semi-final.
Gab loves an out there prediction, doesn't he?
There you go, though. He's got off to a good start. Very good result for Phil Parkinson's men. Obviously got over the line on penalties. Arthur Okonkwo with a great save. Impressed with them in this cup? It's 5 wins in a row, really, isn't it? Including the league games.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Parkinson, former Charlton manager. I think he's always sort of struggled at championship level. I didn't predict them to make that step up. Turns out I was wrong. Does help when you've got far more money to spend than anybody else. But outside of the parachute payment teams, I might add. But
maybe not. From what we hear about those deals,
well, they don't have more money to spend than Nottingham Forest, do they?
No. And that's what I mean. Is I think that Parkinson's done an excellent job. I think that we went up obviously to Wrexham. Was it November time? October time, whatever it was, and they're incredibly sort of, they will give him time to. They gave him time to work through any sort of the kinks that they had. They went, no, this is our guy. He's taken us this far. He will get it right. And I guess to be fair to them, it's been proven right. And I was proven wrong on that particular prediction. But it was an excellent result for Wrexham. I still think probably they may concede one too many. I know they're a couple of points off the playoffs, so I think that they're a playoff side. Maybe they're a playoff side. I don't think that they're going to be the team that gets promoted. But then you look in those playoff places, you look at, I know Preston are obviously just outside it now, aren't they? Look at Hull, you kind of go, are they better than that? Actually, maybe. But I still look at them and I go, probably they're not quite ready to go up to the Premier League. I mean, I think at that point there would be struggles just in terms of you can have as much money to spend, but if you look even at what West Ham are doing in January and they look like they're going to be nailed on for relegation, they're spending 53 million in the space of 3 days. That tells you the level that you've kind of got to get to, and I don't know for Wrexham whether they're quite there yet. Maybe another year to kind of outspend everybody else would be good for them.
The door's wide open, isn't it, in those playoff places, Ben? But Wrexham, their home form has been what's really impressed me this season. Some real big scalps, and Forest on the next to them. How concerned do we need to be? Because I've got this written down, and I know we'll talk about it. 11 of 24 Championship teams remain in the FA Cup. Only one of the top 6 went through in Ipswich Town. How concerned do we need to be about Championship clubs pushing for promotion, but also getting caught in this FA Cup magic run and the legs and the energy that it saps?
Well, the first thing I'll do is I'll talk about Ipswich, who could literally be entering fixture Armageddon because of winning in the FA Cup third round. And you know all about this from 23-24 when Coventry went all the way to the Cup semi-final extra time. And, I mean, Preston fans were saying last season they're near relegation, can be put down to a good FA Cup run. And Ipswich, obviously the game got postponed against Pompey. Congratulations, Pompey, for getting your televised game against Arsenal on in similar temperatures this weekend. Imagine that. I say that word. I jest. Pompey fans, I jest. But no, there's that rearranged game, and we don't have an empty week for Cup fourth round anymore. So literally, if you get through, you put in another 3-game week. So we know now, with no more wins in the FA Cup and no more postponements due to frozen pitches or wet pitches at Blackburn or whatever, Ipswich will play 2 more 3-game weeks than Coventry will during the running. Yeah. Easy for me to wab it. Easy for me to say. So you can see why, if you're a Frank Lampard or if you are Kim Hellberg, do you want to get knocked out in FA Cup round 6 and give yourself another 2 at FA Cup round 6, and you're basically going to be playing 3-game weeks right the way through with Easter in between. So I get it. As an FA Cup purist who loved seeing Palace win it last season, I don't like it, but we know the exact problem is the massive chasm between money and the prize for the Premier League, and I totally understand why managers and owners won't be too bothered about the FA Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think if there's a team at the top of the Championship who can handle that, though, it's Ipswich and their squad.
And that's the argument. But Simon, still, Ipswich at the end of November had the rearranged game against Blackburn, and they went away to Hull, away to Oxford, and then away to Blackburn. They only won one of those games. So, yes, you can have the best squad, but unless you're seasoned Pep and Man City going Premier League Europe every week, it's still a tough task, and it's very easy to say you've got the best squad, now go and win 2 games every week. In reality, you'd prefer to have Coventry 20 games, get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the FA Cup semi-final run, where Ipswich got promoted playing Coventry on the back of that.
And what happened between rounds 45 and 46?
Because the season just stopped with the FA Cup semi-final. I think we lost 8 out of 9 or something after that. We finished 8th. The season was completely done.
And Preston could have gone down on the last day of last. Where did they get to?
They lost to Villa in the quarters.
I think it's the quarters.
I think they got all the way to the quarters. Wow. And that loss, there's something about it, just saps the season. Thoughts on the promotion running and how it balances with the FA Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Ben makes all the key points. I think it's also the same down the bottom, right? Which is obviously where my attention is so focused. I had no issues going out of the FA Cup. I said it last week. You're almost in the cup to get the glamour draw. We got the glamour draw. Get out of the cup. Don't embarrass yourself. That's the main sort of thing, and I think it's the same at the top as well. If you're Middlesbrough, you're looking at it going, if I get promoted, I'm playing Fulham away next year anyway, right? So it's the sort of thing where it's like for any of those sorts of sides, especially those that maybe have a great 11, maybe a great sort of 13, 14 players, but maybe don't quite have the depth everywhere, right? Just getting into the playoffs is kind of the key, right? So I think for a team like Millwall to go out 5-0 to Burnley, as much as I would never celebrate Millwall winning a game of football.
But you look at the Championship table and the teams that did go through, we mentioned one of the top 6 go through, but then you look further down and that mid-table pack is where I think, absolutely go for it in the FA Cup. You know, Stoke went through, Wrexham went through, I think Bristol City went through, Leicester went through,
even
Birmingham.
If those mid-table teams go through, that can still impact the relegation race if those games are then postponed in, it's Valentine's Day weekend, round 4. There's probably going to be a load of games moved into midweek. Look at your calendar. Next week, 3-game week. Mm-hmm. So you're going bang, 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 bang for 5 games in 14 days or whatever it is.
And then Oxford winning on penalties. I think they won on penalties against MK Dons, if I'm not mistaken. You're looking at that thinking, brilliant.
Happy days.
Yeah, great. I think a really good example of those mid-table sides is Stoke. That's a good starting 11 at Stoke. I know Johansson's now out for months, but it's a good starting 11 for Stoke. You sort of look onto that bench, and it's weaker, right? And that's probably a side you look at and go, actually progressing. How often can you play that starting 11? When do you rest them? If you get a big draw, obviously all those players will want to play. And that's just an example, I think, of a side that probably Bristol City are in the same sort of bracket, right? A really good 11, maybe a really good 12, 13, 14, but you kind of look beyond that and you go, I don't know, in terms of what I want them to be playing in a playoff game come May time.
It's very interesting indeed in a season where Man United are only playing 40 games and Championship teams are looking at 50 plus and all of that sort of thing. We should also talk about one team that did exit the Cup in spectacular fashion, Ben. Sheffield United 3, Mansfield 4 at Bramall Lane, and Chris Wilder probably pleased to be out of the Cup, but also absolutely furious at this performance.
It's so difficult with Wilder, and we mentioned this a lot, Simon, with how much of what comes out of his mouth is very clever managing of the narrative and the fan base. In fact, I will say there's no one better at Championship level at that kind of pulling the strings of, is it a little message to the players, a little message to the fans here, one to the board.
I'd put Nathan Jones right up there.
I would as well. Yeah, very, very much so. I don't think he'll be too bothered, but I'm sure he would have made it very clear to the paying public of Sheffield that, you don't just turn up to lose a home game. But, I mean, I think Connor was a bit hotter on Sheffield United than I was, but show me a 10-game form table, they're top of it. Give me that over the next 10 games and they will be in the playoff race. And if we're talking about complete carnage there, then never say never. So I don't think he'll be massively bothered. And if you're going to go out, have a spectacular game and score some goals.
Oh, absolutely. Massive entertainment as well. Producer Seb's written down on the running order that apparently we have to talk about Cov losing against Stamford position.
He tried to get it already.
Form through the floor, apparently. No, I don't know. What do you reckon? In terms of a cup game here, a few changes, but this is now a little bit of a sticky patch for Lampard. how do they kind of reset and go again and just draw a line under this bad Christmas period and stay top of the league? Because that's what we all want, isn't it?
Well, one person that stayed with us.
Mate, I'll take second. Don't worry about that. You can finish top.
To be fair, if you're going to lose a game of football, lose it to a goal like that. Absolutely spectacular hit.
And avoid extra time.
Avoid extra time.
Yeah. Good point.
And it's one of those, isn't it? Is it if you're going to have to play away at a fellow club, and you've got that, a fellow sort of championship club, and you've got that want to finish top, or you've got that want to get the automatic spots, no extra time, go out. If you go out, you lose to a wonder goal. It's not going to hopefully affect confidence too much. Like, okay, he scored one of those, move on. I think for Coventry at the moment, I know you had the flu bug that went through the squad, which didn't help. We've weirdly played you twice, and is it Sakamoto? We haven't played him once. Yeah. He's been out both times. I think Thomas Asante's been out both times. I like the Roman SA signing on loan. I think that's a good one. The lad from Tottenham, I think that's another good signing. So I do think the Coventry are trying to sort of buffer that squad. I think it's just Lampard to get the players back and then just sort of almost reset it. I think that he's a good manager at this level. I think he'll be able to, but I also know that Coventry are one of those sort of almost sides, right? The same sort of as Bristol City, probably in the same sort of category on the other end of, if there's a way to mess it up, we'll find a way to mess it up, and that kind of causes, I think, the stress. If you look, it sounds very boring, but if you look at the math, the likelihood of Coventry actually messing that up, I think, is relatively low. I think Coventry will be fine.
Thanks, mate. We call it coving it up in the in the local press.
Simon, can I just quickly be the boring guy that looks at the maths? I've just been on my calculator app. So if we give Coventry 30 points from the remaining 20 games to take them to 82, I think they'll be fairly close, maybe a game away or 2 games away. That's 1.5 points per game, which is currently 10th place form in the Championship. So 10th place form over the 20 is going to take Coventry a couple of games away, and you play Middlesbrough at home. You don't have to play Ipswich again. So he's right. The maths says keep your head. They've done the right thing. Well, I know we're coming on to transfers. One more in.
Hopefully, hopefully one more in. Hopefully,
and it should be. Look,
the midfielders, surely, isn't it?
The heavy lifting was done with the 11 wins in 12 streak. They've just got to finish the job now, and they should be able to, shouldn't they, Simon?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I'm
You've got that fan derangement thing there in your head. You can't see it, can you?
I think it's good. We're out of the cup, like you mentioned earlier. 20 games to go. Can break that into 5-game spells. 2 points a game guarantees. It takes us to 92 points, hopefully the title. That's what I'd be aiming for. Yeah. See where we fall. We will come on to a massive game, doing a preview later, Cov versus Leicester, to see if they can get back on track. The last thing I wanted to mention here for the FA Cup thing, Queen's Park Rangers, 53 third round exits. Let's have a round of applause for QPR. That's a record.
We're applauding the Rangers fans. Can we get one in the comments? How many, if you're a QPR fan, how many of them have you seen? We must be able to get somebody. Oh, and we must give a shout out. There was someone in the comments. Remember we did all the ridiculous Christmas titles last time I was on. Someone listed them all down in the comments. So the producer said we'll find their name. Fair play to that person. Yeah. But can we find the QPR fan who's seen them lose the most times in the third round?
That's amazing, isn't it? 53, that is remarkable. We're going to come on to some transfer news now, and we have to start with Josh Sargent. He wants out of Norwich. My little skit at the start, he texted in refusing to play in the FA Cup. Ben, Toronto FC reportedly bid 18 million Canadian dollars. That's around 15 million pounds for him. What happens to one of the Championship's best strikers over the last few years?
We all sit here and we quote that pound for pound. Josh Sargent is the best striker in the Championship.
Not this season.
No, that's true. And they've struck gold with McCarman, Norwich, so that makes life easier. But what do you do if you're the sporting director now? You've got a highly saleable asset and a very good player who doesn't want to play. And the manager is really, stitched the sporting director up, but said, I'm not selling him. So what do you do?
You have to sell him. You just have to do it. He's got a World Cup this summer, possibly, if he gets some game time. If he stays at Norwich, he might not be in that World Cup.
Are they being clever here? Are they just inflating the fee? Because now they can go and say, the manager wants to keep him, so you're going to have to pay.
If it gets to $20 million, like £17 million, surely.
Someone will bid that on February was it the first?
First, I think, is the final day. Yeah, you'd think so. Ipswich.
Oh, stop it. This is nothing to do with Ipswich.
I just think Norwich, again, with the Núñez situation, have put themselves in a bit of a sticky situation where they're probably a bit scared of selling key assets now. Do you think they have to get rid, though?
I mean, I think Napa's under a huge amount of pressure anyway. I know that there are other podcasts where people have made their opinions on Ben Napa very, very, very clear. But I think it makes it so difficult for him, because if you go and sell another one of those assets for less than what you would consider market value, because they turned down, was it 20 million in the summer? Was it West Ham we were looking at 20 million?
And a German club as well.
Wolfsburg, wasn't it? It was Wolfsburg.
Yes, possibly, yeah.
It was 20 million quid, right? If you're turning that down, then you're selling him for 15 after he spent 5 months playing. That's a huge red flag. I think probably if you look at it, wherever Norwich filling up, Napa's probably gone anyway in the summer. But the problem here is that if he's saying, I'm not playing,
can we just say, Callum, that's poor, isn't it, though? You know, for a player
it's dreadful.
to be
it's dreadful.
Them. I get it that agents have got jobs to do and players have got short careers, but I didn't see that coming from Sargent. I'm a bit disappointed by that.
At least ring him. At least ring him. Speak to him, right? Like, at least
come to work, eh?
Yeah, be there. You know, paid. That's the thing. It's not like he's returned his wages for not playing this week. Like, you know, do what everybody else does. Get up and go to work. Stop being a prima donna.
Completely agree. We'll have to wait and see what happens to him. By the way, producer Seb tells me Jason Cliff-Jones is the man who got all those. Jason, the main man, spotting all those Christmas number ones we had fun with, Ben. A couple of notable January additions that have happened already. Middlesbrough signing Leo Castledine from Chelsea, £1 million, has been on loan at Huddersfield, Ben. 12 goals in 27. He looks very promising indeed, and a signing that Kim Hellberg has made his first signing, right?
Yeah, that was one that we definitely knew. So you had that lovely sweet spot of a player killing it in League One, contract ending at the end of the season, Chelsea making it very clear that they were willing to sell with the recall, and it's a bit of a no-brainer, and it's not a massive gamble. I'm sure there'll be something on the back end if Borough go up and performance related, but yeah, add him in there. I know, sort of Whittaker's run hot, but central striker wise, I know he's not a central striker, but they need goals, and they need to stop this ridiculous notion of, what was it, 80 shots without a goal and then win 4-0. And, so we need some more consistency up top there for Borough. But I think sometimes the intangible of just players arriving, and Warnock was always the master of this, just freshen the squad up in January. So I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's a winner, yeah.
A couple of also notable additions I've written down here. Kai Wagner at Birmingham did very well at left-back on his debut. I think a day after joining, he was part of the team.
6 minutes and an assist, yeah?
Yeah, unbelievable. He looks really, really good so far. Coventry signing SA, as you've already mentioned, and Yang on loan. Wingers and depth there. Quick word on Sam Morsey, Ben, by the way. Bristol City signing him on a free. And Norwich have signed Ali Ahmed from Vancouver Whitecaps. So Canadian and Norwich teams working together nicely this transfer window. How about Morsey, Ben?
Well, I think we've got another link to my favourite double promotion team as well. They've all been split up. Look, Morsey, just quickly, I think Knight and Randell is a good central midfield partnership. But if you want leadership, setting standards, that kind of calm authority, I know he looks a bit headless chicken on the pitch sometimes, but no, he's a very assured, and what he did for Ipswich as captain was magnificent. But another one of that team is going to Charlton, apparently, Callum.
Yeah, it sounds like we're very interested in Harry Clark on loan, but it's to play him at right centre back, I think, not to play him at right wing back, which obviously Ben and I was sort of chatting off camera. That would make sense to kind of do the Kane Ramsay role when Kane Ramsay isn't fit, or to start over Kane Ramsay if that's where Nathan Jones wants to go. I like that signing. It's another sort of player with injury history, which is a little bit worrying. But considering how much was spent on him by Ipswich when they were in the Premier League, I think there's a really good player in there. And at the very least, if we can take him, he plays well for us, helps keep us up. Ipswich have a player they've got an option on at the end of the season anyway that they could probably then sell on and try and make some of that money back. So it could be a win-win for everybody at a very low cost to us.
Absolutely, and to finally round off this transfer link thing, Jesse Lingard's linked with Wrexham, which is just what we all want in January, isn't it? That's the perfect link. One word for that, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what are Wrexham going to do? They'll bring someone in, won't they?
Surely.
No, nothing against Jesse Lingard. I hope it's not Jesse Lingard, but I think they've bought well.
Yeah.
Simon. Actually, when you look at injured players coming back, I forgot that they had Ryan Hardy in the ranks there, and I do cry a little bit every time Nathan Broadhead dribbles through a small gap on the edge of the box. But what are you going to do? Huh?
I know. We need to talk about Charlton, though. That's why you're on the show. Let's jump into our Charlton chat. What's gone right and wrong for Charlton so far? We mentioned the brilliant start to the season and a bit of a drop-off over kind of Christmas, finding yourselves now in the bottom six.
Yeah, so what started well was we had the sort of typical third place team gets promoted via the playoffs, has momentum. So we sort of rode that. We made what were good signings in terms of quality. So we signed Kaminsky from Luton, we signed Reece Burt from Luton, we got Amari Bell and a free again from Luton. There's a pattern here.
Matt Bloomfield from Luton.
No, not quite. We took the manager too before that.
There you go.
You looked at players like Harvey Nibbs coming in, Charlie Kelman coming in, and we got Miles Leaburn back from injury. So we made what felt like pretty good signings.
10 million spent, wasn't it?
About 10 million net. What was it? About 10th, I think, in the division. There was a little bit of an over-inflation of how much we spent, I think. But the issue is it's really boring. It's injuries. We've just been absolutely decimated. Now, we went into the season without a backup left wing back. Anyone that watches anything that I do knows that this is something I cannot and will never understand. Going into a season with one fit left back when that left back had missed 3 months the season before because he likes to go into crunching tackles. Lo and behold, what does he do? 5 games into the season, goes into a crunching tackle, gets ligament damage, is then out for 5 months. So it's the sort of thing where you sat there and you go, these are things that should have been looked at. I think there were good parts of recruitment. I actually think Kelman's starting to come good now. I think he's on his 4th goal now. Is it 5th? I think that Harvey Nibbs doesn't really impact games, but he scores goals, which is somewhat useful. Sonny Carey started like a house on fire, and then I think everybody's realised, man, mark him, and has sort of dropped out a bit. Reece Burke and Amari Bell, when they've both been fit, have been fantastic, but, disclaimer, when they've been fit. And so we've ended up with him. We're playing players like Macaulay Gillespie, who Plymouth sold when they were in the Championship because they didn't think that he was quick enough, basically. Well, he's not quick enough for the Championship, and I think we've seen players kind of getting behind that. But that left side, we're playing a winger who's an academy kid at left wing back, and teams have just gone play down that side. Even Coventry, right, we were at the game at the Valley, pointed it, went, just go down that side. Everybody goes down that side, and so we need to get that sorted. But I think that much like any Nathan Jones team, what we're trying to do at the moment is win games on moments, so win moments in games. In League One, when you have Matty Godden, Luke Berry, these players that are, the Championship proven at the end of the day, maybe Matty Godden's sort of top League One proven, but when you're in the Championship, you look at the front line at Stoke where we went, right? You look at the front line at Southampton. They're always going to be the favourites to win those moments because of the quality of those players. So when you're on a good run, you've got to kind of keep it going. But we have to, very similar to Lampard in a way, we have to reset that, and I think that's getting the right players in January. That's why a player like Clark actually interests me, because I think the quality is there for him to actually win a moment against a winger or stop a player coming through, and I think we've missed that sort of with those injuries. We're playing a child at right centre back at the moment. I shouldn't call him a child, he's actually 20, isn't he, Keenan Goff? but he's an academy kid who's actually a defensive midfielder, and we're playing him at centre back, and actually he's been absolutely fine. He's going to have a good career, I think. But that's where we are at the moment. So I think Nathan Jones was joking. We need 5 defensive signings. But before the injuries we got against Chelsea, I was looking at 3. I don't think he's joking anymore. I think we're probably looking at we need a minimum of 4 defensive signings just to kind of get through. But we knew that Burke and Bell were sort of made of glass, right? They have been for a couple of seasons now, and that's disappointing, I would say.
And we look at Nathan Jones, and we talk about Nathan Jones a lot. He's a manager we quite like. He seems like a really, really, really good fit for Charlton and keeping you in the division. Are all the fan base behind him, love him? He's like the manager that neutrals love to hate and opposition fans love to hate, but when he's at your club, it must just be brilliant.
So when you look at successful Charlton managers, Alan Kirbishley, Lee Bowyer, Chris Powell, Nathan Jones, they've all had a connection to the club. So we gave Nathan Jones his first job in coaching. He was the coach of one of our youth sides that had Lookman and Rebo in it and all the rest of it. Not a bad little squad to have. I think Carlin Grant was in that squad, if I'm not mistaken, as well. But it's the sort of thing where he does suit it, right? He came in and we were a club that was dying. We'd just been bought, so we had money. But we were looking at League Two, really looking at League Two in the face after the Appleton debacle. And he came in, he stabilised it, he got us back to, kept us up pretty comfortably in the end. I still think that's something he can do this season as well. He's got a history of doing it. We had a horrible start to the season afterwards in many ways, and then we just went on one of those crazy Nathan Jones runs. But he's a manager that he plays on being the underdog. He often says we have no money, when actually the facts say we do have some money. And so I think he's a great fit. What I would say is that I think in football now you can't have a bad run as a manager in many ways. People start to go mad. But you can really tell, and I think it's, sitting in this studio, it's quite interesting, but it's kind of like the Andy Mitten journalist sort of thing of actually like it's when you lose the neutrals, the crazies will always stick by you. He hasn't lost the neutrals. You don't leave the Valley if we've lost a game with loads of boos. The away end, you'll hear shouting and whatever, but it's not, there's no sort of worry. And actually his sort of post-match interviews have actually been pretty level. I think he's been consistently given the backing of, you've got time, we're not going to attack you, it's not going to change. And I think he kind of needs that. I think he needs that backing. And I think at Southampton and Stoke, if you listen to him, he'll always say that he never felt that. At Luton, he always did. But on those two jobs, he never felt as if the board went, we're going to stick with you through a bad patch. They may have promised it, but there were times when he didn't think he got that. But I think he is getting that. And I think it's just, we're in a bit of trouble, but we've got a chance to fix that, and I think that's what they're working towards trying to do.
I just love the fact that Nathan Jones was the man who stopped Pep Guardiola's Man City quadruple. I think that's still absolutely
He'll never let you forget that. He'll never let you forget.
I won't let anyone forget that either. It's absolutely brilliant. How many points then do we think it's going to take to survive, and what does Charlton need to do for the remainder of the season?
I think if you can get yourself towards 46, I think you'll probably be okay. I don't know what the number last year was, but I think it was inflated. I think it was higher.
Inflated, yeah.
I don't think that it's going to be that high this year, partially because Sheffield Wednesday exist.
Luton went down with 49, so
I don't think you're going to need 49 this year.
Hull stayed up with 49 just on goal difference.
I don't think you're going to need 49 this year. I think if you get to around 46, and if you look at that for us, that's 7 wins. And I think one of the things to point out is that we've played 4 more away games than home games, and we're a team that's very good at home.
Sure, yeah. So the Valley form in League One as well was spectacular.
Yeah, we have one of the best home forms in the calendar last year, 2025, in the calendar year.
Yeah.
We just didn't lose home games very often. Southampton happened, okay. Middlesbrough happened, but we still don't lose loads and loads. And Leicester happened, but we don't lose loads and loads of games at home. So I think home form, if you look at that. We've got Portsmouth and Norwich come down to the Valley. So you look at, I guess it is down from Norfolk. But if you look at it, I think that there's definitely opportunities to kind of get ourselves moving away from the relegation zone.
Yeah, absolutely. A word on Tyrese Campbell as well. I think he's wonderful. He's so quick. He's the quickest player I've ever seen.
What is that with me and Tyrese Campbell? Every Charlton podcast I go on, Charlton Radio podcast, everyone asks me about Tyrese Campbell.
It's because he's the most eye-catching Charlton player when I've seen him. Just maybe because he's so quick.
If you want a definition of Marmite footballer, Tyrese Campbell will be that for you. The big problem for Tyrese Campbell is that he's a winger who was playing at striker for a specific reason. He was being used to press. Nathan Jones has made it very clear he doesn't care about attacking output. Strikers score goals, great. Midfielders score goals, great. Thomas Kaminski's backside scores a goal, great. I think he was saying that if Thomas Kaminski was my top scorer and I was in 10th, I wouldn't care, right? So I think people, sort of fans, I think sometimes misinterpret that. But so the outputs for Campbell aren't great. But moving him to left wing back, the poor lad, he's not a wing back. Yes, he's quick. Yes, he can get forward. But there's times when people are like, beat your man. It's like, well, he's playing left wing back. He can't beat his man because there's no one in behind him. And at the moment, I've got Macaulay Gillespie who turns like a combine harvester. So if he plays the ball in behind him, I've got no cover at all. So I think that he's better as a forward, and I think that it's
that
for
needs
pressing.
To be addressed in January.
It has to be. I mean, left wing back. It has to be. I know it sounds like Booker Clark will be our first signing, great. But if we don't get a left wing back, I think we're looking at Scanlon from Liverpool. The youngster, I think, is Callum Scanlon. Is it? Is another one is one they're looking at. I think Josh Edwards is coming back, but if we don't sort left wing back out, we're going to stay down here, and it's going to be very, very uncomfortable for the next 4 months.
Right, let's do a quick prediction. Do we all think Charlton are going to stay up, first of all, Ben?
Yeah, I think Charlton will stay up. I think they'll finish below Norwich, even though there are a few places above them now. But if you bracket together Charlton, Blackburn and Pompey, and if you accept the broad premise that it might be one of those three, and I'm sorry Oxford fans if I've not mentioned them for obvious reasons, but yeah, it's the Nathan Jones factor. I've written down here, if fans love to hate you, you are most definitely doing something right. And I've also written down type of club, and I just think the South London underdog. Look, he did well at Luton, but he didn't do well at Stoke and Southampton, who've been in the Premier League, and the expectations are different. I think it's a
We've
really
been in the
good
Premier
fit.
League, wait a minute.
When?
When we got relegated, 2006.
Yeah, there you go. Recently been in the Premier League. I just think he's just a really good fit and a really good manager. And the evidence, Simon says, if you leave Nathan Jones alone in the Championship with a club for a few years, the direction they go is up the table.
Absolutely. I think they'll be absolutely fine as well. 19th at the minute. I think you'll finish between 17th and 20th and be pretty clear of it. You agree with us there?
I mean, I've always said somewhere between about 15th and 21st.
Okay.
That sort of lower, that lower
1 point per game, survival form lands on 50.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's the home games. That's the thing that I look at, and I go, we've got so many. I mean, Birmingham's away form's terrible. They come down. Like there's a Derby hit and miss at times. They come down.
Ipswich show you one after that blooming 4-4. I mean, wow, I've never seen anything like that. So write that one off. That can be a 0 point.
Didn't you beat us 6-0 in the return game of that? So you got the one
That
back
is
on
fair.
us. I think it's probably the one back for the 3-0 at Portman Road.
3-0 at Portman Road. There you go. Yeah.
The most unexpected result of the season.
That did come up on the pod as the most unexpected, didn't it?
It really did. The most unexpected result of the season, indeed. We're going to finish with a little quiz question for you, by the way, Callum.
God.
You don't have to answer it.
Oh, thank God.
It's not for
Is
you.
it about Charlton? Because I struggle.
One player remains from Charlton's 1920 squad who last played in the Championship. Do you know who it is?
In our current squad?
Yes. This is from producer Seb, by the way, so if there's anything wrong with it, blame him behind the camera.
Current squad?
He probably doesn't get much game time at all. There's a big clue for you. I don't... Goalkeeper?
1920.
The name I've got down is Ashley Maynard Brewer.
Was he actually in the squad in 1920?
Oh, have a go, producer Seb. It's all his fault. It's not my fault. You having that as a debate? You want that fact checked? Yeah.
I mean, Ashley Maynard Brewer's not my favourite goalkeeper. He's our third choice.
He still counts. Right, we've got 3 quick match previews to do before we finish. Starting this weekend, here we go, Charlton versus Sheffield United. A home game. Talking about how important that is for you. Sheffield United obviously picked up quite a bit recently. 3 points to target, of course.
It's tough. I mean, they're top of the form table. I think that Bamford coming in, I know they've now extended that to the end of the season. That's a huge get for Sheffield United. I'm not going to sit here and sort of say we're expected to win that, but we do like a home win. We follow that up with another home game against Derby. You kind of look at those 2 games before the South East London Derby, and you go, look, if you can get 4 from those 2, you're feeling, you'd feel pretty good, I think, before those 2 sort of tough away games. So it's possible, I think. I don't think that Sheffield United are unbeatable, but it's a really tough game, and I think Chris Wilder's one of the best managers in the division. It's going to be really, really tricky, and also at the moment we have no defenders. We have like Lloyd Jones and a massive gaping hole. So how we sort of solve that heading into that game, I think is going to be key.
I think we could predict fireworks on the touchline for this one. Maybe just a few. I think it's 3 wins out of 4 in the league for Sheffield United, by the way. Obviously lost against Mansfield. You expecting them to go there and win? What are you thinking for this one?
I mean, you're on the draw or the away win, aren't you, in this one? But we've heard stories about Chris Wilder hanging up West Brom and Wrexham shirts because of collapses away from home. And, it's mentioned the Valley and what you're up against when you do go to Charlton, but they should have enough and they're in good form. Look, if Sheffield United are going to maintain, and we're going to be talking about them more and more on the pod, they'll go there and win. But hey, we're on the back end of a break, and it's Charlton and Nathan Jones, but I would make Sheffield United favourites for that one.
I think I'd go for a 1-1 draw. What are you going for a score prediction, Cal?
Let me go for a Nathan Jones classic 1-0.
And you back in Sheffield United?
I bet it takes Sheffield United.
There you go, we've covered all the
Well, but it's
options.
probably both teams to score if United win, so it's probably a 2-1 or a 3-1 that way.
Interesting to see if there's any hangover from the FA Cup for Sheffield United after conceding 4 goals at home. Maybe he'll be hanging a Mansfield shirt up in the dressing room
Very good.
ahead of the game at the Valley. West Brom versus Borough, massive game this one. And obviously, West Brom with a new manager in charge. Borough second in the league right now, currently 6 points behind Coventry. How do you see this one going?
This is trickier because West Brom are at home, and actually their home form isn't too bad.
And this is a Friday night fixture again, if I'm not mistaken. West Brom on a Friday night on Sky just seems to be every single week at the moment.
Middlesbrough obviously a great side. I think they do have a, they were sort of out of form for a little bit there. I think they then won 4-0. Which Middlesbrough is going to show up? I think if you're Eric Ramsay, you probably look at that and think it's a home game. Do I have an opportunity to get something here? It wouldn't surprise me. I hope it doesn't happen, because if we then beat Sheffield United, we go above West Brom. But it's one of those where we can really drag them down into the battle a little bit. But yeah, it's a tricky one to predict. I probably actually lean towards a draw.
The new manager just changes the way you look at a game, because we don't have any evidence to go on what he's going to do, what formation he's going to play, and how they're going to line up. New manager bounce is definitely a thing, but Middlesbrough look to have steadied the ship after that little sticky bit of form.
Who knows?
Who knows? This is an absolute don't know.
I don't want to, be doing kind of obvious analysis, but it feels like Middlesbrough games, whoever scores the first goal, but it's almost like if Middlesbrough score the first goal, they're going to win by 2 or 3. Whereas if West Brom score the first goal, Middlesbrough probably aren't going to score. The intangible of the new manager's bounce is a bit the stadium and a bit the players. So if the West Brom fans can kind of get behind it and, make it a raucous, cold Friday night in January, but it's the players, isn't it? And we don't know whether, I don't want to speak ill of a manager who's just been fired, but if they were fed up playing for Mason, and very much like we saw with Southampton at the Valley, if all of a sudden, I'm free, here I go, you could get a big West Brom performance. But yes, this is a real knife edge. I'll go first and sit on the draw for this one then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Simon.
I think the first 10 minutes is absolutely crucial for West Brom. If they come out with a gun of blocks firing and playing really well and the crowd are on side, completely different game. If Middlesbrough come out and start really well, it's going to be a tough
they win
night.
3-0 or something, won't they? Yeah.
I'm going to go 2-0 Middlesbrough, just because I need to see something from Ramsay and his new team. What about you, Callum?
This is absolutely the game on the schedule. I couldn't tell you. I would go with a draw, I think.
Yeah.
Because, as I say, I think West Brom's home form probably leans towards that. But it's a proper knife edge game that I think could go either way.
And the final game we have to look forward to is Coventry versus Leicester, Ben M69 derby. We've talked about Coventry enough. Leicester still difficult to predict, but did win in the FA Cup, of course. Home form absolutely crucial for Coventry. Only lost to Ipswich this season. Are they getting back to winning ways? Give me some confidence.
What do you think?
Have to win this game. We've had the excuses. We've had 4 games in 8 days. We've had the lack of numbers in the squad. We've made 2 signings. We've been really good at home all season. We haven't scored enough goals recently. If there's a game to get us back on track, a bit of a derby at home, sold out CBS, it has to be a win. If it's not a win, I get really concerned.
I fancy Coventry in this one. I think with the break, with that Lampard laser focus on the last 20 games, new signings are in. It's a good atmosphere and a good positive stadium at the best of times, isn't it? They just don't want to get anxious and nervous, those Coventry fans, which can happen to any stadium. But let's be fair, Leicester, other than against both of our sides, Fatawi scoring worldies or Jordan James banging one in from 20 yards.
That's what I'm worried about.
That's the only way Leicester win the game. It's a tight game. You miss a load of chances and they bang one in the top corner. That seems to be Leicester under Cifuentes. I just find Coventry, particularly at the CBS, it's just the law of average that they're so attacking that they'll just chip away and chip away and chip away. And Leicester have completely, we're past Vestergaard and Vass, and they seem to be moving away from the expensive team that got them relegated, promoted and relegated again. So I fancy Coventry.
Yeah, I will back us as well. I'll go for a 3-1 win. Are you backing Cov as well? Do you think a slip up here will be costly ahead of a 3-game week?
Oh,
as well?
massively.
Especially if Middlesbrough have won the previous night.
Yeah.
Now, what would be, as a Charlton fan, what would be massively helpful, Middlesbrough will win and the Coventry win, because that points
You're
deduction...
talking to an Ipswich fan, that's very unhelpful.
that points deduction that's staring Leicester in the face, which should be coming down, down the pipeline.
That's what we've been saying. I've stopped mentioning it now on this show.
We should have had it last season, weren't we going to say?
But I think the reports were saying sort of February time is when it's going to be sort of adjudicated. But you look at where that sort of moved, like in terms of quite in the court, and it looks like it's moving in the EFL's favour. But you look at that and you go, if that's the full 9 points, so that's 3 points for every charge. They're right back down in the mire. I think if Leicester lose on Saturday, isn't it? If they lose on Saturday, Cifuentes he's on borrowed time, I think, anyway. I mean, those fans are completely in revolt over what's going on. Mm-hmm. If Cifuentes loses that game, surely
not remotely all his fault either, is it?
No, not at all. And well, maybe not at all is a bit strong, but it's they can't really make signings either with FFP, can they, Leicester? So they're in this really weird world of, until they sell their best player, which would be next summer, and Fatuwu, they can't spend money. So they're in this sort of really strange situation where it's like if the points deduction does happen, they end up back down with everybody else, and they can't spend to kind of get out of that. I think that you should be leaning Cov in this sort of game. I think you're right. If Cov don't win this, if you're an Ipswich fan, you'd be looking at that going, "Oh, we'll be chasing them down."
Yeah.
So I think you do have to lean towards Leicester.
What score prediction are you going for then?
Oh, give me 3-1.
Okay, match up then. All right. We'll leave it with Cov wins.
Can I just go? I'll go 1-0 Cov, but I want Leicester to have some kind of chance to make you really, really nervous in the 90 like 8 corners in the 95th minute or something.
Oh, I'm not looking forward to that.
But Simon, are the days of Cov 3-1 gone? Is it going to be just get this done and 1-0s and Carl Rushworth just win?
I think it's 4 goals in the last 5 games, or maybe 4 in the last 6. The goals have dried up, but I'm hoping that the new wingers will help us out, and we'll have some subs to throw out. Thank you both for joining me on today's show. Callum, a fantastic debut. Definitely not like Jonathan Woodgate around you. You did far better than that. Please do get your thoughts and score predictions in the comments below. Next week, I'm back with Ben Bloom's back again. He's joined with Ollie Mann to discuss Sheffield United run under Chris Wilder. So we look forward to that. Perfect. We'll see you then.